Yo, what up, day and night gang? It's your boy AM, and I'm coming to you with a video blog. This is part 2 of my previous blog I did about like a month ago, where I took a DNA test and I did it live on camera for everybody here to see. I got my results back from the DNA test I took. My mom is Navajo, which is Native American. That's located in northern Arizona. And then my father was Hopi and Mexican and whatever. We didn't really know too much of his side of the family. Now with the taking a DNA test, I got the results back and I got, not definitive, but I got a lot of information that I didn't know who I was. And as I previously alluded in my other video, I wish I was Swedish, but that's not the case. I'm so sorry. Not to you, but to me. I mean, that was something that I was really hoping for. But there were some surprises in my DNA test, which is pretty crazy. Some surprises that I didn't think were even possible, but I guess they are. So as when I go through the findings that I was able to take when I did my Ancestry DNA test, I'm going to also put pictures up here during the blog so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So the test was broken down into percentages. So 44% was Native American, which I was surprisingly surprised that it was so low, because I thought I was 75% Native American, seeing how my father was like, I assume he was half Hopi and my mother was full-blooded Navajo, which is full-blood Dene or full-blood Native American. But it turns out there may be a little bit more other things inside my DNA than people previously thought. And so then we also got back that I was 40% indigenous Mexican, which is pretty cool. I think Morales kind of gives that away, but 40% is quite a bit. If we can do the math, I'm 44% Native American, 40% Mexican, so that gives us an 84%. Now this is where it gets kind of funky in terms of like the percentages, because now it's like, what are the other percents, and is there any surprises left involved in any of those things? And as I was going through the DNA test, I was just going through down all the stuff that I said I was, and I found out that I was 10% Spanish, which I kind of knew because my grandfather, my father's side, he looked very Spanish. He looked like he came from Spain, big time. He had a lot of the traits typically not found with like indigenous Mexicans, but it was interesting. So then now if we kind of do the math and all this stuff, so I'm 44% Native American, 40% indigenous Mexican, and 10% Spain. That means it's 94%. So there's that 6% outlier out there elsewhere. And this is where it gets really interesting. Turns out that I am 4% French. So there's a 4% that says that I have ancestors or DNA related to French people, which is cool. I was kind of hoping for Swedish or something like, very unique European, but that wasn't. Well, I guess it is. French people are really unique Europeans, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool because like I wasn't expecting that. I'm kind of glad it is. I like French bulldogs. I like baguettes. I mean, I like a lot of French stuff, and then I feel like I'm kind of like a romantic dude, so I kind of got that like French swag going on, which is pretty nice. 4% is pretty high in my opinion, and especially for somebody who just grew up primarily on a Native American reservation, it's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it. So now if we just kind of like recap this all up and then we do the math again. So we got 44% Native American, 40% indigenous Mexican, 10% from Spain, 4% from France. That gives us a total of 98%. So now we're trying to figure out where's this 2% at. But it turns out that I'm also from Senegal, which is Western Africa, which was pretty cool. So like there's a part of me that has a little bit of African ties, which is pretty awesome. 2% is a pretty large number. It's just really interesting because I just never expect that this would be the case. It's just, but it's cool though. It's like super cool. And now I kind of want to make a life goal where I go visit all these places so I can kind of get an idea of like what's happening. The DNA test was actually pretty cool. It gave me insight into like where the regions I'm from. So they kind of like showed like, this is kind of like where the general population DNA where it would be found, and it kind of gives me like a really narrowed down like the region where I'm from. But it doesn't change a lot of stuff for me. It just knows that there's more complexities to who I am, and there's more identity that I need to explore because I wasn't able to have, you know, people pass that down on to me because of just relationships that weren't able to be cultivated because of how strange my grandfather and my father and that whole history was. Because like I told you, I didn't know too much about my grandparents on my father's side, and so there's a lot of stuff that's not answered there, and he doesn't have a lot of answers as well. But there's also some interesting things on my mother's side that haven't been answered either, because with 44 indigenous Mexican, that's a lot more than Native American than I was told. Even on my mother's side, there is some indigenous Mexican in her that she doesn't know about, nobody talks about, but I mean, it's definitely there. Culturally, we have clans, and then my grandfather is the Mexican clan, and so it makes a lot of sense to me that, like, you know, he has some Mexican indigeneity inside of him. I think there's a connection in terms of who you are and your identity, and so being able to explore those things is very, very helpful. And so it's kind of cool that I'm more complex than I thought I was. I thought, you know, I was 3 things, but it turns out I'm like 5 things, and it's a nice little mixing pot. I mean, you couldn't get this amazing person. Wow! If it wasn't for those individuals contributing that spice and magic to it, that makes me like even a cooler person in the long run. And I'm gonna own it. I'm going to accept what's been given to me. That I'm going to embrace it. I'm gonna learn a little bit more about it. It's all a trip. It's all amazing. It's all cool. The Ancestry program is pretty neat because what they do is they take the DNA of others that have already took the test, and they compile like first cousin, second cousin, and things like that, and show you who are you possibly related to, and be able to show those connections. And so I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty awesome. It helps people find their families. I don't know if I'm going to reach out to those individuals that I am genetically related to. It just seems kind of awkward. But, I mean, I could see people kind of like, you know, saying, hey, I'm so-and-so, and where do you come from, and all this kind of stuff. And I bet if we go back far enough, we're all kind of related to each other one way or another. And so I think that there is some stuff that's, you know, written in me that if I was able to explore and figure out, I can use it to my benefit, or maybe find some weaknesses that I need to overcome, and maybe trying to like change some of those things. And it's just cool because it gives me more opportunity to learn more about these other cultures and these other groups of people. I would suggest everybody to take it and to see what's up with you. That'd be just, even if you think you know yourself in and out, it's kind of cool to do. I think I'm like a rare case in that sense because, you know, there's a lot of open-endedness to like my family history, answers that I guess questions that never been answered, and this kind of like, you know, doesn't answer them fully, but at least it kind of like, you know, unblurs the picture a little bit so that I can kind of decipher something. I told you in the beginning, it obviously does not change who I am as a person. I'm still going to be the same person that I'm always going to be. It just adds a little bit extra flavor to me. And so when I introduce myself, I maybe give a little bit more context and detail of who I am. But to recap again, let me break it down for you one more time. I'm 44% Native American, 40% Indigenous Mexican, 10% Spanish, 4% French, and 2% Senegalian. I don't know what you even call them. And that makes it 100% AM. Yep. Pretty wild. So I even like called up my family and told them about it, and they all like tripped out on it. They're like freaking out. So now I'm gonna do a little bit more investigations and trying to figure out the exact numbers of where they come on what side of my family. So I am planning to get some of my family members to do some of these tests so then we can see exactly where the breakdown happens, so I can get a better picture of who's responsible of what in my DNA. If you like what you see, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button. If you love it, subscribe. We're always looking to have more members of the Day and Night Gang. And then if you want to let me know like what other videos you want to see, other content that we will need to create. 2021 has been terrible for us, so we haven't been able to go out and do a lot of cool stuff that we typically had planned for this year. I had like 4 series ready to go at the beginning of the year, but when COVID happened, it stopped. Now we were gonna go record stores and buy records every month. That'd be like 12 months where we bought 12 cool records for our record player. We only did maybe like 1 or 2 episodes, and that was it. And then we also did one where I was gonna take some money and then try to invest it in fun ways. And so first episode we bought like $20 worth of scratches, but then COVID happened, and so that kind of killed that little bit, because you don't know what was going to happen, so we had to save all our money up and not just make cool videos with it. But as COVID starts to get handled, or a vaccine is found, or I don't even know what's going to happen, we're going to try to make the content fun. And I think what we're gonna do is maybe try to start over in 2020 or 2021, yes, and see if we can start some new shows, new channels, and just do a little bit more stuff for you guys to check out, because I think what we're doing here is pretty cool. It's fun to do. It's fun for people to watch, and we get we're getting comments, we're getting messages, we're getting thumb likes on our videos. Subscriber count has gone up, which is also pretty cool. More members of the Day and Night Gang. Shout out to you all. You guys make us happy that you guys love what we do. Other than that, as always, peace.